Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Vinny Costa, editor of Street Muscle Magazine, and your host of the RodCAST, the all-encompassing car show where we talk about all things automotive. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Greg Acosta, editor of Engine Labs and all-around tech guru. What's up, Greg?
Hey, how you doing, Vinny?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So today, we're going to have an episode that's a little bit unlike our others in that we don't have a guest. We've had a couple episodes like this in the past. They're always fun because I enjoy talking to you, Greg.
Always.
But it's a little bit of a change of pace. It allows us to kind of catch up, recap some things that we've talked about in the past, and talk about some things that we have for the future.
Yep.
So I wanted to do a quick recap on this episode where we talk about our previous episodes and who we've had on, notable personalities, so that our audience can go back and check those out on Street Muscle's Facebook page, also on Engine Lab's Facebook page.
For sure.
So if you recall back to episode 1, this is episode 12 already, man. It's kind of flown by.
I know, but, it really has.
It's crazy, right?
It is. I mean, because I was just thinking the other day when we were running demo in the hotel room, and we had the computers fighting each other because for audio.
That was cool. That was man, what, January, beginning of January?
Yeah. How far we've come. I mean,
yeah, MPMC. I got a new microphone, dude. Look at this thing. Yeah. So we went with our first episode sometime in January, and we had a bunch of people on that episode, a bunch of other editors, a bunch of other personalities. We were kind of just introducing some of our coworkers and fellow editors, and that was a fun episode. We just got a little bit of background on yourself, myself, everybody who's been on the show.
Yeah.
I believe episode 2, we had Blaine Burnett of Holly. He's their marketing guy over there. That was cool. He talked to us all about LS Fest West, Intergalactic Ford Fest, and as well as Holly's My Garage, that interactive website feature. That was really cool. Since then, I've gone on there and I've created a profile. What about you, Greg?
I actually have not, because the 94, as we've talked about, the 94 suffered some damage.
That's right.
So it's kind of not in my good graces right now, even though it's not its fault. But a little bit of rodent damage to the wiring because I'm getting a driveway poured, so I had to move the car. And first thing that happened was injector harness got eaten.
Those damn rats, dude.
Yeah. The funniest part was we have it parked at my girlfriend's parents' house, and her mom texted and said, "Oh, there's a squirrel that lives under your car." And that was I was over there in an hour, and I hood up, and there was a squirrel living under my car and in my car and in the engine bay. And
see, dude, they're a nuisance.
They are.
I love that analogy on Inglourious Bastards, albeit he uses it to describe a horrible event in history. But I always thought that was funny because people are so repulsed by rats, but for whatever reason they think squirrels are nice and fuzzy and cute, and I suppose they are. But they carry diseases just like rats. They're horrible. They chew through wiring harnesses.
Well, and the funny part was the picture she had sent, saying, "Oh, there's a squirrel living under your car." There was a hawk sitting at the back of my car, waiting for it. And then, of course, when we did the postmortem of the car, we found a bunch of fur and some bits and pieces. So he got his.
Justice was served.
Yeah, justice was served. I can't be mad at him because he's gone. But he apparently hit a couple of their cars too, and they didn't know about it.
No,
it's nothing nearly as bad.
Yeah, that's a serious bummer though, because now you have to figure out how to splice those wires. It's going to take some high-level soldering skills.
Well, yeah, especially since the 94 to 95s had a different harness, so I can't just go buy a harness because I'd press the easy button, just buy a new harness, and take 2 hours and no big deal.
Do you even have any salvage yards near you?
We do, but they're more junkyards than salvage. I mean, they are junkyards.
Yeah. Yeah, there's none near me. I have to go all the way into LA. It's about an hour at least to the closest one. But anyways,
I mean, I gotta be honest. I mean, buying the new connectors and stuff, really not that expensive. It's just
Yeah,
time.
that's a good point.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's why I've not updated anything on my car.
There you go. That's a bummer, dude. But yeah, so that was episode 2. Episode 3. You remember who we had on episode 3, Greg?
Sorry, I was reading the comments. 3 was Brandon.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, Brandon was a good interview. I always enjoy hanging out with Brandon. I don't get to do it much because I'm remote and everything, but it's always fun hanging out with Brandon. And usually when I do get to hang out with Brandon, it's because we're working. So,
dude, this is an interesting comment from one of our viewers, Lenny Denune Jr. And I'm sure I butchered your last name. I apologize, but he says, "Here's the problem that entails. Back in the day, they actually used petroleum products in the coating of your wiring harness, and when Automotive went to a soy-based, when the automotive industry, I think is he means, went to a soy-based material coating on your wiring, it attracted rodents. And if you live in an area where you're prone to have major rodents, you're going to have a chewed-up harness." Interesting.
Yeah, well, and what really sucks is, I mean, the car is 26 years old. I've owned it for 10. It has never had an issue. Never. And then it just happens that I move the car to get, the driveway poured. And I mean, granted, they feed birds and they feed the squirrels. So little did I know. Had I known that, I probably wouldn't have parked my car there. But that's not.
Well, I had no idea that about this the wiring coating and if that's factual, Lenny.
Oh, it is. No, that's why they do it.
Oh, Danoon. Excuse me. Sorry about that, man. But yeah. So yeah, that's really interesting. I had no idea. If you guys know about any other weird quirks that have to do with auto manufacturing, please let us know in the comments. Thanks, Lenny.
What I want to know is, can we get some habanero wiring? Like, how like when you bite your nails, they put that stuff on it so it tastes like crap when you bite it. Like, can we do that to wiring?
I don't know, man, because I had some experience with that, right? Like, so I had this dog who loved to dig, and it wasn't her fault. She just liked to dig. That's what dogs do, But they say put chili powder near the areas where they dig, and it'll deter them, right? Stick their nose into a hole. Dude, she loves spicy food. I don't know what was going on. It made her dig more. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
But anyways, yeah. So anyways, episode 3, we had Brandon. That was great. We played Automotive This or That. That was the first time we played that. And if you guys haven't seen that episode, please go back and watch it. It was a fun episode. Automotive This or That is a segment on the show where we compare cars that fall into the same category. Maybe that's a sport compact, or like a big truck compared to another big truck, different makes and models, but they fall into the same family. And then we have our guests choose one and then justify that choice. So we played that with Brandon. That was a lot of fun. And then episode 4, we rolled in with who was episode 4, Greg?
4. Oh, they're starting to all run together.
I know. It's we should have this pulled up on our Facebook
episode
page.
4. Oh, apparently episode 3, I just pulled it up. Episode 3 was just you and me. Episode 4 was Brandon. So episode 5 was Petty.
Oh yeah, that was a fun episode. That was cool.
Always fun with Brandon or with Brian.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because whenever I'm with Brandon, I'm with Brian because it's always video stuff, and those two are always video. But
that's right. But yeah, we recapped Horsepower Wars. Brian Petty is the host of Horsepower Wars 10K Drag Shootout, among other shows under the Power Automedia banner, and he broke down a little bit of a behind the scenes recap of what happened during the season finale, because there was some controversy regarding the winner and the runner-up, etc. And so Brian gave us his side of the story, which ended up being even more controversial.
Yep, because that led to episode number 6.
Right.
Which
and
was
we had
Lyle Barnett.
Yeah, we had Lyle Barnett, the runner-up for season 2, winner of season 1. And basically he had a little bit of a different take as to what went down for the season finale during season 2. And we love to have Lyle on. That was a great episode. We also split that episode between him and Brian Havens, the editor of LSX magazine. And we spoke with him about Holly's LS Fest West and an upcoming cruise event under the LSX banner. That was a fun episode.
That really was.
Yeah. So then that's episode 7. See, we're cruising right along, dude. Like,
Yeah,
these weeks just fly by. It's crazy.
they
So episode
really
7
do.
was who?
Episode 7 was just you and me again.
Oh, that's
It's when
right.
we talked about the C8, the 10-second C8.
That's right. Yeah. They were already getting that thing into the tens. People were just taking receipt. And if you recall, Greg, who was the first person? Who was the first group of people to get the C8 into the tens?
Mark Carlisle.
That's right. So if you go back and watch episode 7, I believe we show the video of it going down. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that was really cool too, because they hadn't quite figured out. Well, they still haven't really figured out the ECU, but watching the computer actively fight nitrous, it's pretty cool.
That's insane, dude. And they're already like, twin turbo development kits. ProCharger's working on a kit for the C8. I mean, it seems like everybody was just waiting to get one so that they could start immediately modding them.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and you actually said this, the C8 release probably is the biggest thing of the decade.
Oh, without a doubt. And I can't take credit for that. That's actually Dave Cruikshank who said that first. But
I mean, yeah,
I think it's true.
I think it is. I think you're right. I might even say more than a decade. I might say everything so far this century. I mean, granted, that's 20 years. That's 2 decades. But century sounds so much bigger, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. So, but all these guys are modifying these things, and we might go off on a little bit of a tangent here. But what do you think about people already filing warranty claims or this class action lawsuit against GM about the stitching on the interior, how it's all wonky? Have you heard about that?
Not heard about that. No.
Yeah, you might have to look that up. I'll have to find the link to the article that I read and drop it in the comment section. But yeah, so people are getting pissed about the dash, the stitching on the dash, right? So there's a long line of stitching, contrast colored stitching that goes across the dash. And I mean, there's multiple photos of it going across, huge variations in the stitching. And granted, GM and American auto manufacturers as a whole have taken a lot of flack historically for their interiors not being up to par with Euro or Japanese auto manufacturers. So I don't know, is that justifiable? You're getting a supercar for a normal car price, but you're going to take a little, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. It's still a $60,000 car. I mean, I don't care how much performance hell, my $35,000 Mustang has better interior than any vehicle I've ever owned. So if I'm jumping into a car that's roughly twice that amount, I kind of expect a little bit more out of it. I mean, I'm not saying it's got to be twice as good, but yeah, I can see it. I mean, I think they might
for sure. I'd be
pissed.
Right? You take a brand new Corvette and it doesn't have, it's noticeable. Like literally with the naked eye, you can notice and be like, that looks crooked.
Well, and especially think about this too. Most of these cars have been ordered and they've waited for them for months. It's not like you walked in, you test drove it, you looked at it, you said, "Oh, that stitching's kind of crooked, but I'm still going to take it."
That's a good point.
When you're sitting there waiting and checking, the internet every single day to see where your car is and whether you have a VIN assigned yet and all that stuff, I think that inherently has a higher level of expected quality when it comes off that truck.
I agree.
And people are going to be pickier. So maybe that's it. Maybe they did drop a ball. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but it's something to consider.
Anyways, I'll drop the link in the comments and you guys can decide for yourselves whether or not that's a compromise that you'd be willing to make or if those people are justified in filing a suit against GM. Moving along. Episode 8. What was episode 8, Greg?
Episode 8 was our friend Jeff Thisted.
Oh, yeah. My buddy Jeff. One. That was cool. He told us all about his career in basically Hollywood and media in general. He started working on The Price is Right and then eventually under Bob Barker's tutelage, he became a game show host on his own on
Yep.
the Game Show Network. And then he just, he's always been a car guy, and he segued that into a career in the automotive industry and the automotive media. It's pretty cool.
Yep. And he's just a fun guy to talk to. I mean, just a cool dude.
He's the nicest guy, and he's such a good sport. We put him through kind of some paces, man. We made him play. I think we made him play
55 or try 5
we made
trivia.
That's right. We made him play Try 5 trivia because he's a Try 5 guy. He has a 55 handyman wagon, not to be confused with a Nomad wagon.
And we learned why not to be confused.
Episode 9.
And then,
that's right. Yeah. So if you're curious about the difference, go back and watch that episode.
Yep. And then from there we had Sam Amello.
Oh yeah, Sam Amello. I was taking college. You want to talk about a career that has spanned decades and really shaped the space that we work in. Sam has been at the forefront. And he started. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
I was just gonna say it's really funny because he's one of the few guests we've had where my girlfriend was all ramped up because she grew up listening to Click It and Clack It, who are contemporaries of Sam.
Right.
And she was just like over the moon. She watched that one on the big screen. She actually, pulled it up on I think it's Amazon has a Facebook watcher or something. She watched it on the big screen, and she was awesome. That blew me away. I was like, cool, like learn something new.
Yeah, well, we know that
10 years.
We have at least one fan, or maybe I guess Sam does. Maybe we don't. No, but seriously, I learned a lot from Sam, and I was grateful to have him because he's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to anything that we do. And so, go back and watch that episode if you guys are interested in working in this industry. Sam's a great guy to listen to because he's been there. He's done it all. We wouldn't have half of these reality TV shows that we do now if it were not for him and being a pioneer. Anyways,
yep.
Episode 10.
Richard Holdner.
Yeah, that was a cool one too.
Yes,
dude, that guy, I had no idea.
Yeah, Richard is a cool dude.
I mean, I've been a fan of his for a while, right? Like, just his videos and the content that he puts out on YouTube. I mean, the guy just bangs out these videos like nobody's business. He's just constantly creating content. But then, we actually got to talk to him, and I found out not only is he a snake guy like me, I dig snakes, but the dude did American Ninja Warrior. I mean, I can't speculate on his age, but he's older than I am. I couldn't do American Ninja Warrior.
I mean, I can watch it on TV. I'm pretty good at that.
I can critique and give notes as I watch other people do it.
But yeah, his show was cool because we had just dropped the article on Engine Labs comparing the 305 and the 302, and man, was that a storm. That was
crazy, dude. Tell us about the feedback that you got on that article because I know it went like gangbusters.
Well, I mean, first off, I think everybody was really surprised at how mechanically equal the two were.
Well, for a little clarity, Greg, give us a backstory. Start from the beginning.
Holdner basically took a 305 TPI engine, from an 80, I want to say an 86 or an 87 Camaro, and then he took a 302 high output, fuel injected. I think it might have been an 86 because it was a map car, but anyway, because it doesn't matter. We put it on the dyno, it was a map. But took a 5-liter, and he compared them. Like he did the same mods to them. Like, he baselined both of them. Then he did heads cam intake on both of them. And then he put a blower on both of them. And to say they were close at every step of the way is an understatement. For engines that were so different, they were at most maybe 5 horsepower apart. And apparently,
But yeah, how come so much flack in the comments?
Well, apparently, the Chevrolet guys felt that it was an unfair test. I still don't quite get how it was unfair. It was literally a 1980s engine out of a 1980s car versus a 1980s engine out of a 1980s car that were in the same segment, and they competed with each other. I mean, they literally, these were head to head. They were what you chose between if you were buying a car in that segment. But there were a lot of people that wanted to see the 302 Mustang engine, you know, the Windsor,
Mm-hmm.
compared to the 302 Chevrolet engine.
Right. That's not,
Well, that's not fair at all.
no, that's not a
But
fair comparison.
in the comments, some people picked up on that and they were like, well, how about we take I think it's the DZ 302 and compare it against the Boss 302, the Cleveland, you know, with the ports that you can like
Yeah.
drop your golf ball into and oops, you just lost your golf ball. And no, absolutely not. It was just really weird because this is one
A
of
lot
the
of
fairest
people,
tests I think I have ever seen. I mean,
yeah,
flat
a
out,
lot of
no
people were
brand.
wanting to do like apples versus oranges instead.
Yeah, they are not happy with a fair test. And I don't quite
Who were
understand
you
that.
get who were you getting more of it from? Ford guys or Chevy guys?
Oh, Chevrolet, hands down. There wasn't one Ford dude that said a bad thing about it. Which is weird. I mean, because I guess you could say the Ford won because it made 2 more horsepower or something. I mean, really, it was that close.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really interesting. And I mean, Richard even jumped in the comments. You guys can all go to the Facebook, Engine Labs Facebook page and read the comments.
Yeah, you
And
should
Richard
repost
jumped.
that same that you should repost that same post so that people can read those comments up at the top of Engine Labs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really interesting. And I mean, I got emails. That was the thing. I got emails from people who were upset.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Is it just because people are so brand myopic? They always want their brand to win. I mean, I kind of feel that way.
I feel like that, but I also feel like that might be kind of an easy cop out. But I can't figure out for the life of me. It was about like I'm being serious when I say this was the fairest comparison test I have ever seen.
Well, it's also
Um,
got to be. Well, I don't know, man, because the Engine Labs audience is pretty savvy, but I'm inclined to think that like maybe they just don't know that they're asking for these comparisons, but they don't know that what they've just witnessed was actually a more fair comparison than what they're asking for.
well, I would think that, and I challenged one guy, one of our commenters. I hopped on. I'm like, okay, so this is what you want to see then, right? And yes, that's exactly it. I said, even though it's unfair, yeah, that's what I want to see.
Well,
Okay,
hey man,
I
people
mean,
want what the people want.
yeah, and I mean, and it was never like, oh, I just wanted to see these parts tested. It was, I want the Ford to stay exactly this way it was, but I want a better Chevrolet engine to be tested against it.
Interesting.
I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend, you know, especially wearing a Mustang hat, like I'm some, you know, holier than thou. I don't see brands, you know, whatever. Of course, I have my favorites, but I also like science, and I'm willing to let the test tell me what's going to win, not what's on the valve cover. You
Well,
know?
yeah, no, I feel you, but I'm the same way. Like I like them all. But yeah, you have your favorites. I like GM, dude. I'm a Chevy guy, and as much as I try to like fight that stigma and say I'm not, I gravitate that way, and it's just because of the vehicles that I've owned and my experiences working on them. And I think a lot of people have that same mentality. So, I guess we can't blame them too much.
Yeah, but I mean, I just wish people would accept science for science sake and not look at it as an advertisement for a brand or something. Because
Well, now you're asking for a
sometimes,
lot because it's
yeah, I
not just
know.
in the automotive industry that people want to deny science, but I'll leave it at that.
I'm just,
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like data is key, and Richard does a great job with that. I think that's why I'm such a fan of his.
yeah.
He provides data, even if it's in abundance.
If Viewers, if you want to know more about what we're rambling on about, go check out episode 10. It was a great episode. And Richard, he's a lot more jovial and entertaining when he describes what Greg and I are talking about. He has a way in putting it in terms that anybody can understand. So go check out his videos, go check out our video, and tell us what you think. Episode 11, Greg, was my buddy Garrett, our buddy
There,
Garrett.
yep.
That was cool. Garrett Alexander Reed. He runs an Instagram page called American Muscle HD. If you don't follow, go check it out. Give him a follow. Also, check out his Facebook page under the same title. He basically broke down in that episode how he went from being an enthusiast who was just running an Instagram page in the early days of Instagram to now compiling a following of over 2 million people. I think he's at like 2.2 million at this point. And he's become a known personality in the industry. He likes all kinds of cars, not just muscle cars, as the name would imply, although that is the majority of the content that he posts. He's got some cool builds going on. He broke those down for us, notably a G-Body Monte Carlo that's just fantastic. I really like it.
It is. That car.
Yeah.
That car is so awesome, especially with its history. You know, it getting stolen and recovered, and oh man.
Yeah, you guys got to go watch that episode because he tells us all about how that car was stolen on Power Tour and then recovered, and it actually was in relatively the same condition that it was when it was stolen. Unfortunately, the other vehicles that were also stolen at the time, the same could not be said for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check that one out. And now we're here, Greg. Episode 12. You and I, the Lone Rangers. Wait.
No, that's right. The Lone Rangers. Who is that?
That was from that movie, dude.
That's what I'm
in the
trying
90s.
to think.
Airheads.
Was it
Adam
Airheads?
Sandler
Airheads, yeah.
and Brendan Fraser and
Yes.
Steve Buscemi. It's a fantastic movie about metalheads. And
they took over the studio with the Uzi water gun.
yeah, exactly. If you like that movie Spinal Tap, this is basically like a 90s version of Spinal Tap. So instead of parodying like The Who or Led Zeppelin or any of those bands, they're actually parodying like more bands like Metallica, Megadeth, stuff like that. So
yeah.
Anyways, the Lone Rangers were here. And so yeah, so we were talking to Garrett about some of his projects, but I don't know, viewers, maybe you guys saw a video I posted yesterday. It actually got a great response. You guys have been asking for updates on some of my projects, notably Snake Eyes, my 1972 Monte Carlo, a car I dearly, dearly love. I saved it from a dilapidated trailer park. This elderly man owned it, and I asked to buy it, and reluctantly he sold it to me, but it was in horrible condition. It still kind of is as far as the body's concerned. It needs a lot of love, but it's got a tough aesthetic. But basically, the idea behind that car has been to create a budget sleeper. And so I'll share my screen with you guys because the last we saw, it was getting a supercharger install courtesy of TorqueStorm. And so we finished that install. And before we could get it on the dyno, unfortunately, all this COVID stuff happened. And so it was kind of sitting on ice for a little bit. And in the interim, we said, hey, why don't we bring it over to our friends at CPP, that's Classic Performance Products, right here in Placencia, California, which is just up the road from me. Why don't we bring it down there and do a suspension and brake and rear end overhaul? So that's where we're at with the project right now. And I'll show you guys some photos. I'll share my screen with you now.
Real quick, while you're looking that up, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you still in touch with the old dude that you bought it from?
No. So here's the thing. This is an interesting story because there we go. It's on the lift there, and we have some of the. I'll try and make this full screen that way. Are you seeing this, Greg? Full screen?
Yep.
Okay.
It's full screen.
Yeah. So it's an interesting story because I go to buy the car from this elderly man who I had been in contact with through Craigslist. I found that I was actually searching for an El Camino. I've really wanted an El Camino for a long time, and I couldn't find one in the price range that I had. I had about $3,000 saved up, and and I was looking for one, and I saw this Monte Carlo on Craigslist, and I was like, dude, I've always loved first gen Monte Carlos ever since I saw Tokyo Drift. He had that really cool one with the monster big block. I think it was like a 572. And he races that Viper in a totally unrealistic race through like some, he's driving through like framed buildings and stuff. It's ridiculous, but I did love the car. And so I always wanted one, and I thought, well, I can afford it. It falls in my price range, and it's a cool car. Maybe I don't want an El Camino. So I go to take a look at it. I had been in correspondence with this guy through text message and a couple phone calls, and actually just text message at that point. So I get down there and I knock on the gentleman's door, and I see the car there, and it's like in a gated off area, and it was this orange color. And so I ask him, "Hey, would I knock on the door?" And he answers the door. He says, "Yes." I said, "Oh, I'm here to take a look at your car." And he had no idea what I was talking about. He was like, "Oh, you're trying to get a hold of my grandson." And I had been calling the number that morning, and no one was answering. But he had given me the address the day prior. And so the elderly man says, "Oh, well, let me call my grandson." So he calls him, and he's like being pretty stern with him on the phone. He's like, "Hey, get your ass up and get down here. You need to come sell this car." and so then, this guy comes over, and he's a young kid, maybe, early 20s or something. And basically what it was is the car belonged to the grandfather, but he tasked the grandson with selling the car so that they could split the money. Well, the grandson had put a little bit of work into the car, and he loved the car. He didn't want to actually sell it. And so he was like being real reluctant to sell it. He wouldn't budge on the price, but the price was so low that I ended up buying it anyways. So I got it for like $3,000, and I drove it home that day. This thing was so clapped out, Greg. I'm not kidding. The body was in rough shape. The suspension was shot. It didn't even have a shock on the front driver's side, I believe. It was just riding on just a spring. And I found that out later. But anyways, fast forward couple of years later. Well, it's been about 3 years since I first bought the car, 3 or 4 years. And here we are. It's got a supercharged 383 stroker. It's not the engine that was originally in the car, but I swapped that out. New transmission as well. And now we have it at CPP. You can see I relocated the battery to the trunk. I got the cutoff back there. It's on its way to being a pretty cool car. And now, this is us staging some parts, all the parts that are going to be going onto the car. This is part of their PT4K kit, which stands for Pro Touring 4 kit. And so that entails, all new suspension, tubular upper and lower control arms, new brakes, which includes swapping to discs in the rear, discs up front. We're also swapping out the vacuum brake booster to a hydraulic brake system, their HydroStop system. It's really cool. Swapping out the wheels and tires to fit some bigger brakes. And the really cool part about this whole thing is that my buddy Jim Reese, and I might be mispronouncing that, and I feel bad if I am, because it's R-E-I-S or R-E-I-S. Yeah. Anyways, he asked me if I would mind using Snake Eyes as a test vehicle for their new modular rear end, which you can see there in the center right behind that Ford 9-inch third member. And it's really cool. The axle tubes unbolt, the flanges on the ends unbolt. So you can run a bunch of different combinations. You can narrow the rear end. You can do all kinds of different things. And so suffice to say, it's going to handle way better. It's already much faster. We're not making a crazy boost with the Torque Storm supercharger that we installed, maybe 6 to 8 pounds. So I'm hoping to make somewhere in the neighborhood of 550 with this car, and just make it a really fun, streetable track day drag strip terror. You know what I mean? Just something you can have fun with, beat on, and you can do it for not an insane amount of money, because excluding that rear end there, you can do all this and piecemeal it together affordably. And I can't speak to that rear end because it's not something that's on the market just yet.
Well, I mean, looking at the picture, there's a whole lot of cool in that picture, but that rear end, there's something just gorgeous about it. It's a great idea
under there.
like the tech behind it. It's something that I'm surprised has taken this many years that we've had, performance rear ends to. It's one of those things where you're just like, how did I not think of that?
Well, there are
Um,
other modular rear ends on the market, but they're widely used for racing applications like circle track cars and things like that, because you want to be able to quickly swap things out, or drag cars and things like that. But
yeah, but see that's kind of more of a quick change, and this is like if quick change expanded to the whole thing, like
exactly.
instead of just the differentials and gear ratios and stuff. And speaking of gear ratios, I watched your video and heard you said you went with 350s.
That's
I
correct, and I don't have a
still think you're
200.
nuts. I still think you're nuts.
Well, that remains to be seen, Greg. I've
I'm
used the
just
calculator.
saying.
28
I
inch
know.
tall tires, three. This is a quiz for you viewers. 28-inch tall tires, 350 gears, turbo 4. Where are we going to be at 70 miles an hour as far as RPM? Let me know, because Greg
Too
seems to
high.
think that I'm crazy.
Well, and also, dude, you've got a supercharger and you've got 350s. Like you don't have. I mean, I don't care how fat those tires, those Azinis are that you got in that picture, which I love, by the way.
Those are awesome, right?
Thanks for the picture. I've been bugging you about those for a while, and I haven't seen the picture yet, so thanks. But yeah, you're gonna be able to smoke those just whenever you want. I mean, maybe that's what you want. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, that's exactly what I want.
I in my old age, I'm kind of learning to like traction a little more.
No. Well, so the idea behind the car was actually, it's interesting how it's developed, and let me kind of cruise through some of these photos here, and show what we're talking about. So the idea behind the car originally was to be just a street strip car, right? Straight line car. We want to go fast at the drag strip, and so that's the reason for the taller gears. But as we developed the idea, Jim was like, "Hey, we're putting some high end components on this car from the CPP line, and it doesn't really make sense to put small brakes on here. Like, it's just you're limiting yourself unnecessarily. Like, why not go with a bigger brake?" And I said, "Well, Jim, I'm kind of an old school guy. I like the Anson slot mags that I have on here. They're real cool, 15-inch wheels. They look good on this car." And then he said, "Well, why don't you check out some of the wheels that we have on the American Legend line of wheels that CPP now has on their site." And so it's not, they've curated it really well. They don't have a whole lot of offerings as far as different lines of wheels, but the offerings that they do have are staples in the hot rod community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
I started looking at them, and I landed on these. I believe they're called Speedster wheels under their product line, and I was like, you know what? Those are real close to the slot mags that I already have on there. They're just a little bit larger, and it's really cool. You can actually go on the American Legend website and virtually test fit them on your car. You upload a photo of your car, and then you can put the wheel under a visualizer, and it'll show you how they'll look on your car. So I did that, and I was like, man, these look fantastic. So then I called up Jim and I said, "Hey, I think I found some wheels." He was like, "Okay, perfect. Because now we can tune the rest of this to make it not just a fast car and a car that can stop, but a car that can also handle, hence the coilovers and the rear end and everything that we're doing." So as you know, Greg, um, a lot of these events that are going on are, in the past, they've either been just a drag racing event and a car show, or just a car show and an autocross. But more and more, we're seeing events where there are multiple categories. You can do autocross, you can drag race, you can have your car in the car show. There's even, at Holly's LS Fest, you can go into the burnout box and just do donuts. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff you can do. And so why not make this thing a triple threat? Why not make it a street beast, something that you can take to the drag strip on the weekend, but also run on the autocross course?
yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, I think in general, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but it has never been easier technologically to have a multi-purpose car. Because
Exactly.
I mean, in the days past, if you had a drag car, you had to live with a horrible ride on the street. And you had, and now that's just not the case. You can do it all and not be giving up in any one area. And yeah, you know what? Maybe you're not going to be fitting, a 15-inch wheel on the back now so that you can put some Mickeys on the back. But guess what? There are plenty of 17, 18, 20-inch Mickeys.
Exactly.
That'll hook. Hell, look at Beefcake. He made an 880 pass on 20-inch wheels.
Exactly, dude. You don't have to make those compromises anymore. You can have a car that can do it all. And I'm not saying that maybe that this car, can do everything at the highest level, but you can do everything and have fun doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. When you're building a car, it's about fun. And when you start compromising the fun, like how many people have been like, okay, I'm gonna start building a car, and then all of a sudden it goes so out of control and snowballs kind of like this, but not like this. And now they're looking for a new daily driver, which you just did, but I'm not saying. But then that daily driver,
daily, just to be clear.
But then you take that daily driver and you mess with it, and then before long you're looking for another daily driver. I think we're in the era where you can have a daily driver that does everything you want. I mean,
100%.
I think it's possible. And I'm not saying this is a daily, but I have a feeling when this is all done, it could be. Well, except for those years.
Yeah. Well, you can certainly, I'll tell you what, man. Years past, when I first bought this car, when I did the engine swap and I first put the 383 in there, I drove this car every day. It was so much fun. I had this car, I had my Firebird and my Harley, and I drove this car all the time because it was so much fun, even though it was a real jalopy. Look at these big ass brakes, man. But I'll be honest with you. I really have fallen in love with this project all over again for different reasons, just because I'm so excited to see how well we can make this big body car handle and go fast and do all these things. So
yeah, anyways, and that's cool. That I love the feeling of falling in love with your project all over again. I recently had that with my old Mustang, with my 94, when we put the True Track in it, because it had the locker in it. It was so unpleasant to drive around here. It really wasn't the locker's fault. The locker was doing its job. It's just when I put the locker in the car, I lived somewhere else, and I didn't have to face all the all the roundabouts and the dusty roads and the gravelly roads, and so I didn't enjoy driving my car. I mean, there's a 3-year period where I don't think I put more than 400 miles on the car total. But I remember that falling back in love with it after we fixed that, and that's an amazing feeling.
Do you have an article series from when you did that Eaton swap?
No, we just have the one article. It was on Ford Muscle. Okay. It wasn't a series. It's technically not a project car yet. I say yet, alluding to some stuff that isn't public yet.
There you go.
But once this car gets back from squirrel jail, we'll call it, and all this COVID stuff blows over, I am going to be doing. I've got plans. There are a lot of plans. They haven't been finalized, but they've been discussed. So, the car will really be a project car again. Hopefully.
That'd be awesome, man. I really look forward to
assuming that something else doesn't.
Yeah, I have a little bit of inside knowledge, and I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah, and we're actually discussing some paint options and color, because the car needs paint. I mean, it's 26 years old. It's been abused paint wise.
Oh yeah, man. You can tell I'm into shiny paint.
Well, I mean, it's I don't care about what it looks like.
No, I'm giving you a hard time because I'm looking at this photo of this
I know.
beat old car.
But I came up with a really cool color scheme, and I don't want to say scheme like I'm going to do some like 1990s Pro Street car.
You should.
But I say scheme because it's going to tie in really well. And as you know, my girlfriend's dad and I were talking, and I'm saying it out loud, I just kind of stopped because it all clicked right there. Like when
I
we
love
were
when that
just,
happens.
yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's it. That's it. It's perfect. That's just what's going to happen. Now I just have to decide whether I want to wrap it or whether I want to actually go paint.
Yeah, how do you feel about wraps, man? Are they just a big sticker? Or
They are. I mean, but the thing is, my main concern right now with it is I'm gonna have to do the body work no matter what.
okay.
The stuff where there's like actually cut peeling paint, I'm gonna have to do the body work. If I do a wrap over the performed body work, well, the wrap's got a limited lifespan, and so eventually it's gonna have to come off. And when it does, then I'm still left with needing to paint it or rewrap it. If I paint it, it's done. Everybody keeps saying just take it to Earl Scheib or Mako or whatever. I don't know. I know they have an expensive option, but I don't know. I've never been into the looks of my cars. My project cars have always been performance based. So I'm not qualified to make any calls on who's a good paint shop and who's not. I do know I can't stomach the idea of a $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 paint job.
Yeah, that's
And a wrap. I mean, there's places around here, and I know everybody's gonna say we get what you pay for, but I mean, I can get a wrap done for $1,200-$1,500, which is a lot easier to stomach.
That's pretty cheap, actually. I've seen them quoted for a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I don't want to give too much away, but why it's going to be less than it's not going to be like what we talked about for your van.
Yeah.
So let's just put it that way.
Well, I'm cruising through these, and I think we talked about it enough, but just for comparison, those are the 50-year-old bushings that we took out of this thing, and the control arms. I mean, this thing was just done, man. So I can't wait to finish everything. And so if you guys are going to be watching the Street Muscle Facebook page in the coming weeks, I'm going to be over at CPP early this week, probably Monday and Tuesday at the very least, while we wrap up this project and get all these new shiny parts on this old crusty car. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited about it. Go back and watch the video that Greg was talking about. It's been fun already. And
can I just point something out real quick?
You
just said 50-year-old bushings, right?
They're actually 48, but yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying, but you said that. In my head, when you say that, my first thought was, it's not a Tri-5.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brain is not processing what year it is.
Yeah, bro. That's a 50-year-old car. Almost.
I know.
My Firebird's 50-year-old. Wait.
But
no, we're almost at 52 or 50 years old.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, but you just said 50 and I was like, it's not a Tri-5. What are you talking about? Oh, and then I did the math and I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah, man.
My brain does not accept that this is 2020.
And like the sands of the hourglass, so are the days. Wait, oh no, sorry, wrong show, everybody. But yeah, so that's what we got going on in the coming weeks. Viewers, please check out those videos that are coming. I'll be putting together a vlog that documents start to finish on Snake Eyes as far as the brake, suspension, and rear end are concerned. So we'll go in depth there. You guys can check out the journey that Snake Eyes is taking right now. So keep a lookout for that. Greg, what do you have in the coming week on Engine Labs? What do you got cooking, bro?
Well, first I want to talk about what I just dropped, because it was fun. I mean, it's not really that serious, but man, is it fun. It's Plastigauge versus dial bore indicators. I literally, when Jeff Honeycutt did the test. We've done a lot of videos with Jeff. Jeff does really good work. And he went into it with an open mind. Like, he wasn't trying to prove anything. And so I wrote the article with the exact same mindset. We're not going to prove. And I believe it was either my first or second sentence said, there's somebody who's already triggered right now. You're already going to be commenting without having read anything about why one is so much better than the other, or that we're stupid or whatever. And sure enough, I mean, visceral reaction. Apparently, to people who use Plastigage, if you insult Plastigage, you're insulting their child. I don't.
Well, okay,
But
think about the cats that are going to be using Plastigage religiously. They've been using it for probably 50 years.
yeah, and
So,
I mean, and the thing is, in the article, we get to some cool stuff. Like, it was measured. We measured the two. We compared the two. Is it worth it? I can't tell you what level of precision and accuracy is worth to you.
okay,
I
but
can only talk for me.
what's the cost benefit? Like, if you're an engine builder, sure, you want to have the best because you're going to be using it all the time. If you're an enthusiast and you're going to build one engine, maybe in your whole life, or maybe a couple engines or whatever, then
and then
can you justify that tool purchase?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we took the comparison of the pricing, to the extreme, and related it to cars. And literally, Plastigage would be a Kia Rio, right? 15 grand, no big deal. The tools would be a Ford GT with $100,000 in the trunk.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty extreme difference. I mean, because when you're talking real numbers, $5 versus $200, you're like, well, $200, that's 2 nights out at the bar with your friends. So
that's a good point.
Not quite, but that's just a really cool article. I enjoyed kind of writing that. I kind of did it with a smile on my face the whole time. And then next week we're going to be doing something with the world record holding stock bottom end 4.8 LS.
Okay.
The guy has been super forthcoming with all. I mean, he posts videos with all his stuff, but I shot him an email and he literally had a spec sheet back to me, and he's pulling all of his data to send me, and it's going to be cool. I mean, stock bottom end LS making 1,400 horsepower and living for an entire season.
That's pretty wild, man. Is it an outlier or could it be a constant?
I mean, the fact that he's getting a full season out of his short block, to me, that's less of an outlier. I mean, it's not 3 runs and it blows up, but now it can do it. No, I mean, it's lived for a season. I mean, that's
pretty weighty, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to diving into that too. Cause like I said, I'm not writing this article from any point of view. I'm learning just as much when I'm writing it, as everybody that's going to read it. So
speaking of though, well, this is totally unrelated, but sort of related. What's up with that plexiglass engine?
Oh my God. He is a craftsman. Craftsman is not a high enough respect term for this dude.
Can we pull up a quick photo of that thing?
Yeah, I mean,
it's so impressive.
The amount of work he's put into it. Because I mean, when it started, everybody was kind of like, "Oh, ha ha ha! You're building a plexiglass model." No, it's got an oiling system.
Yeah, but how is he going to do that though?
Well, he just rebuilt the oil pump. I mean, he's got basically an electric motor that drives everything. But the standard oil pump pumps oil.
Is it an LS? What kind of engine is it?
It's an LS. It's an LS guts. The cylinder heads don't quite look like LS cylinder heads, but I mean, it's LS rockers and it's an LS engine more or less. But the really cool thing is like my little model behind me. He wired in LEDs that pop on the firing order.
Right.
So when it runs,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm willing to bet that's probably what he did, man. He probably has a little model like you do and was like, you know what? I can scale this up.
I don't know how he did it, but I mean, I can't imagine what the cost of the plexiglass alone that he used is.
Say that one more time, Greg.
I can't imagine what the cost of the plexiglass he used is. Like, we're not even going to factor in his time, his effort, his labor, just the raw plexiglass. I can't even imagine.
It's 11 minutes long, but I can jump ahead.
Yeah, I mean it. Oh, hold on, that was my bad. I pressed the wrong button. There we go.
Yeah, so here he is tearing it down.
Yeah, he rips down a real LS and basically blueprinted the block onto plexiglass, and he rebuilt it.
Behind him, in the previous shot, you could see his all-wheel drive. Is it a Cutlass? What is it, Greg?
Yeah, it's an all-wheel drive Cutlass.
Oh well, duh. It says it right. It's like that's his username. All-wheel
Yeah.
drive Cutlass.
But the thing that just blows me away is, because Brian Havens apparently talks to him quite a bit.
Okay.
I asked Brian, I said, okay, so he's like a fabricator by trade, right? I guess he owns a paintless dent repair place. Like that's his day job. Like I would have guessed he like fabricates for NASA or something.
Yeah.
Like,
well, here he is fabricating the block.
The block, yeah. And I mean, it's just it's incredible. And I would kill to have one. No, I'm not going to say that. But I would love to have one of these. It's amazing. And the coolest part is in the second video when he finishes everything up. I'm assuming he leak tested it before, he put oil in it, but he just goes in and dumps some driven racing oil, like 4 quarts right into it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking to myself just all in, just let's go. Let's do it.
Here he goes, boring out the cylinders.
Yeah, he did such a great job. And I mean, he is an artist.
Really cool.
Yeah, it just that was amazing. And
so there's a part 2 that just launched.
Yeah,
right?
It dropped about 24 hours ago.
Okay. Oh, here he is assembling it. How cool is that, dude?
Yeah, I mean,
I know we kind of got off on a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but I think it's worth it. This is so cool. And then you got the openings for the buckets, the lifter.
Yeah, what I really, really, really hope is that, I mean, obviously this isn't going to be cost effective for him to make multiples of these to sell. I really hope that some model making company sees that and goes and pays him a ton of money for the rights and then makes it. And then they're like, $300 or $400, which is going to be hard because I mean, it uses a real LS rotating assembly. I mean,
yeah, right.
But I mean, honestly, I'd probably spend money on that. I don't know where I'd put a full size one because I'd want it in my office, but that's not realistic.
Oh, cool! Look, here he goes.
Yep, that was he made cam bearings.
Yeah, he's
out of some
assembling
ball bearing cartridges and
the rotating or the That's really cool.
Yeah, it's the rotating. I mean, it's
the whole deal, man.
Yeah, it's accurate. I mean, he timed the engine and everything. Oh, the engine, the model, I guess.
Model engine.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Look at that, dude.
Yeah, it's genuinely awesome. I mean,
what's he doing here?
As a teaching aid, even like let's forget for a minute how cool the project is because he's bored at home, right?
Yeah, man. Imagine shop class if they would have had one of these when you were in high school.
Yep, like this is how this all works.
Yeah, exactly. Just as an instructor or from a pedagogical standpoint, like being able to explain to someone how the inner workings of an internal combustion engine, like you can do it. Like oftentimes you and I have to do it because it's basically part of our job description, right? But to have an aid like this, if you're standing in front of a room full of students, good Lord.
And I mean, and nowadays with 3D modeling and all that stuff, you can model cutaways. But could you imagine if you had this in 1972?
Man, like on Step Brothers, even better, we have it now. Yeah.
I mean, just
really cool.
He's a master of acrylic. That's for sure.
I want to see part 2. Let's see. Here we go.
Yeah. I will warn you. Not only did he do the combustion LEDs, he did go a little bit Las Vegas in the end, so it gets kind of flashy.
Okay. So,
Um,
viewers, if you are prone to seizures or anything like that, be
seizures. Yeah,
aware.
you might not want to watch the end. But yeah, it's just I would skip to like 2/3 of the way in just to give a good
Okay.
visual
Is this
representation.
colored? What he has a color like colored pieces of plexiglass?
No, that was him sanding a cut because he made an angled cut,
Oh, okay.
and apparently it wasn't 100% perfect, so he had to sand it down.
Well,
Like,
oh, let me get rid of this little ad here.
yeah, but I mean, he just
Here we
he
go. Oh
look
man,
at that.
the cylinder heads go on.
Yeah,
How cool is
like
that?
if I had to make one critique, which I trust me, I'm not critiquing anything he's done other than to say it's awesome. It would be really cool
That
if there were
thing.
ports,
Yeah.
if there were actual, and I don't even know how you would do that. I mean, you would have to probably cast a head in
Yeah.
resin. I don't even know if you can cast something as complex as a cylinder head in optically clear resin because there's so many shapes. I really
Right.
don't know. I don't know enough about acrylic
What's he
science.
doing
I
here,
guess
Greg?
he's building the front cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's building a front cover. Like
Oh, there he goes.
he just goes straight in, just
Boom,
with the
right into the
expensive
lifter
stuff.
valley. Well, come on, man. You got to use the premium stuff. This is a premium build.
I know. It's like, could you imagine if there was a leak and you found out after your fourth quart?
Oh, well,
Uh-oh.
many of us have been there. Oh man,
see, like he's got the
how
combustion
cool
events.
is that, dude? Oh man, I'm so stoked on this. I want one.
That's what I'm saying.
How
Like,
freaking cool
imagine
is
if they
that?
could get that down. Imagine if somebody offered you to sell you that for $300. Would you buy it?
100%. I don't know what I would do with it. I would just turn it on in my room and look at it.
Well, I mean, just wait till you see the super duper
Oh,
light show. Look at that.
oh, they hit us with an ad. Now brought to you by the Chemical Guys.
Skip that ad.
And later. Sorry. Not sorry.
But look at that. I mean,
That's so cool. That's so cool. I hope he has plans on selling these.
I really do too. Like I said, I'd buy one.
Well, anyways, guys, if you like this video like we do, go check out All Wheel Drive Cutlass on YouTube. It looks like he has a bunch of other videos besides this, detailing his build on his all wheel drive Cutlass, as the name would suggest.
Well, how funny is it that the guy has built an all-wheel drive Cutlass and we're all oohing and on over a plastic engine? Like, the dude, it's funny. He's awesome.
That's really cool. I'd be interested in talking to this guy. I'd be interested in having him on the show. What do you guys think? Viewers, should we have him on the show? Should we bring all-wheel drive Cutlass on the show? If so, drop us a comment in the comment section and let us know. That way we can arm ourselves before we talk to him and say, look at all these people who want you on the show.
Yep. I think Vinny's
really cool.
mesmerized by all the
I
colors.
was. It got me. Yeah, I'm like a little bug to a zapper. Just that was cool. But anyways, thanks for taking that little journey with us, viewers. That was fun. Down the rabbit hole with Greg and Vinny. Anyways,
that's really what it should be called. The solo shows, I think that should be the name. Just down the rabbit hole. Don't know what we're going to talk about, but you'll be the first to know.
Hey, Edward Moon in the comments section. What's under, guys? What does that mean? Is that like that underwear joke? Underwear. You just said underwear.
Man, it's all up, dog.
What's up, dog, Greg?
Nothing much. What's up, dog? Or what's? Oh, I just pulled a Michael Scott. I seriously just pulled a Michael Scott on that one. That's bad.
Oh God,
Can I get a take
yours
two on that?
roast Greg in the comments.
Like, let's go take two on that. I should have been wearing my Dunder Mifflin shirt.
Yeah. That's pretty good, man. But anyways, this is us signing off. It's been a very fun episode. Greg, I always have a great time talking to you guys. Also, again, be on the lookout for new content on enginelabs.com, streetmusclemag.com, as well as every other title that we have under the Power Automedia banner, powerautomedia.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube, across all your social media platforms, Instagram as well. It's been a pleasure. Next week, we have a really special guest. I don't know. I don't know if we should reveal just yet. Stay tuned. We'll publish an article preview of our next guest, and you guys aren't going to want to miss that one. That's all I got to say about it. Greg, you got anything?
Nope. I think we covered pretty much everything.
Cool, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. I always have fun doing these. Guys, let us know who you want us to have on the show next, and keep watching. Thanks. Peace.
Okay. Bye, guys.